Julian Assange risked his life and his reputation to protect people like you and me. I'm here to protest in the name of Julian Assange, and I did a speech earlier, but there was no media here to cover the speech. There was no media to cover any of the activity that's happening here. Literally, the only cameras that we have are some tourist cameras and some individual cameras in this YouTube channel. That's it. That's it, and it's outrageous. So I've decided that I'm going to do the speech that I just did so that you can see what it is that we're trying to say here. Although there's a lot of mixed, different types of organizations here. They're mixing the messages that are going out to Julian. Some people are saying no extradition. Some people are putting Che Guevara flags. So it's very mixed, and it's very difficult for people to understand that Julian Assange's case is a separate case from all of those things. I stand here in the name of hundreds of thousands of people around the world who could not be here at this time, but who feel as strongly as I do and just as passionately as I do about the plight of Julian Assange. We are all Julian Assange. We are all individuals who want a peaceful world. We have looked on as governments around the world have corrupted our institutions. We have watched the world in the last couple of decades descending into chaos, and we say that is enough. Julian Assange risked his life and his reputation to protect people like you and me. People who have witnessed from within the moral degradation of our places of work, our institutions, the disrespect for our planet and for human life. This organization, WikiLeaks, has been responsible for documenting some of the most grievous crimes against humanity. His bravery speaks to the determination of the human spirit to stand to fight for what is just and for what is right. Today we are also here to fight for what is just and what is right. Julian has committed no crime worthy of his current treatment. Julian is an internationally respected journalist. We demand that Julian be treated with the dignity that he deserves. We denounce the UK justice system for their hypocrisy, for calling for Julian, and we're calling for Julian and to adhere to the rule of law, while disregarding international revised legal claims for his innocence. We cannot, as citizens of this world, continue to witness the persecution and the murder of Julian Assange, because that is what the UK is doing to him while keeping him in the conditions that they have since his arrest. I speak here for everyone, every mother who has seen their child die in wars that have been waged by criminals. I speak now for all the military personnel who have lost their lives in the name of wars that have been illegally started. I speak for all the war veterans whose lives have been destroyed by the things they have seen and been forced to perform. I speak here for the Muslim people of the world whose families have been destroyed by wars that have been waged by criminals. And most of all, I speak for the millions of people who have lost their lives to these wars in Syria, in Libya, in Iraq, and Africa. I also, as a Latin American, speak for my people who have lost their loved ones, their lives, and their futures because of criminals. Criminals that have been exposed and denounced with the help of WikiLeaks. We are all Julian Assange because we all have to thank Julian for bringing these crimes into the light. Today we stand here for Julian, even though he cannot see us or hear us. We will not let this unjust treatment be performed in silence. We demand that the UK government adhere to the calls from international laws and free Julian Assange. I would also like to say we are gathered here today, but where are our witnesses? Where is the persecution of Julian Assange is the persecution of journalists, but where is the media? Why is this not a front page story in every newsroom in the world? You, the media, are complicit here for your years of silence, and your silence has been deafening.
Superb. Well done. Nice one. I'll ask you a few. Brett, do you mind answering questions? But firstly, what's your name?
Melissa.
Julian.
Hi.
You said you're a Latin American.
Yeah.
Which Latin
I'm from
country?
Guatemala. Yeah.
Were you born and bred in Guatemala?
I lived in a lot of countries in my life, so I've seen the world from very many different angles.
A lot of Latin Americans have followed the Julian Assange case. Is that just because he was in the Ecuadorian embassy, or is there something more to it?
Well, there was a lot of releases from WikiLeaks that denounced all the governments in Latin America, and there was, there was riots and all kinds of upheavals in Latin America when some of the releases of WikiLeaks came out.
Kieran talks about people living on the edge of empire. A lot of places in South America have had revolutions. They know what it's like to really fight for freedom. But do you think Western countries don't know what that's like, and that's why we don't realise our freedom's being taken away from us?
I cannot believe the apathy of people here. I came here expecting to see a lot of people today, and the amount of people that have showed up, and I think that just speaks to the amount of fear that comes with trying to understand what's happening with Julian and come out in his defense, because the position that he's been put in, and he's been criminalized by governments so severely with charges that have even been dropped, and he is clearly not a criminal. He is a journalist, and he's a respected international Nobel Peace winning almost journalist. So I don't understand why it is that he's been vilified by the media. It seems like the situation is turning now because they're starting to realize that he's a persecuted journalist, and therefore that could also apply to them in the long run. But still, even though that's happened, even though they're calling for the media, there's nobody here covering.
You think the lack of media might actually be not through apathy but fear from journalists of I don't want to be the next Julian Assange?
I think from all kinds of people. I think that your average person is afraid to come here and be seen in movements like this, and I think that your average journalist, first of all, you know, a lot of them are sellouts to begin with, but secondly, I think that there's fear that this is a real situation. I mean, the way that they've treated him, he's been in almost solitary confinement 23 hours a day since he got put in prison, and hardly been able to see his lawyers.
Well, we have a go at the press, but we have to be the press. In an era when anyone can get a camera and upload it, we all should play our part. Right?
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, lovely to be here.
Yeah,
Nice one.
thank you.